Assalamu alaikum doston, this is Safi with you. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Friends, nowadays suicide is a very serious public health issue. And as per WHO, too much people are dying because of suicide. Almost 0.8 million people every year are dying because of the suicide. And you can say it's more than the breast cancer, war, homicide, and malaria. So it's a very serious issue, and we have to mention this issue to the public, and we have to discuss about how we can prevent from this suicide issue. And even if you just see the WHO report, even less than 5 years of age, children, you can say they are also doing the suicide. So that's why today we invite the expert on this field, Miss Melody, who is a suicide prevention coach from USA. So welcome, Miss Melody. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, it's honor for us that you have given us the time, your precious time, and of course, I hope Melody, it's a morning with you there.
Yes, it's 9 a.m. here in the U.S. in Southern California. Beautiful
Oh,
Southern
very nice.
California. So it's a beautiful day.
Yes, yes, beautiful day, and of course, we have beautiful people with us today. So, first of all, Melody, we would like to know from you that what is this suicide watch meaning? Because you know the audience don't have any idea regarding this. Of course, we heard this word too much, but what is the real meaning of this suicide watch meaning?
Wow, thank you for asking. That's a great question. Suicide Watch. It's first. I just want to let everybody know where they can find me. If you're on social media, on Facebook, Melody Pacheco, Suicide Watch. If you're on Instagram, Suicide Watch Global. This is a global initiative, a global movement to disrupt and interrupt suicidal thoughts, suicidal behavior, and habits that lead to suicide. So in 2018, Christmas, a little bit before Christmas Eve, I actually met with Les Brown because I do digital marketing, and we were talking about marketing, literally, about business. And somehow we got into the conversation that, during the holidays, suicide increases. And it kind of caught me off guard, but it didn't, because I grew up very, very rough. I saw a lot of abuse starting at 7 years old. I left home by the age of 16 years old. I got on drugs, for a good 10 years. I was homeless. I basically saw so much domestic violence in my household that I went and I grew up and I repeated the same thing. But I'm a type of person where, I live in my mind, so I can work really, really hard. And no matter what I'm going through, I'll rest when I get there. Like once I'm safe, once I'm okay, then I'll rest and deal with that. So I've always survived that way. So when Les Brown and I were talking that Christmas Eve in 2018, when he told me that the suicide rate increases during the holidays, it kind of like made me kind of think about myself for some reason. And then I just kept listening, and he told me that a close family member's nephew, 15-year-old kid, threw himself in front of a train like within that week. And when he told me that, I was just, it really just rocked me, because I did ecstasy at 15. I was already basically living at couch surfing at friends' house because my house was so bad. The violence, my stepfather was alcoholic. My brother, he ended up leaving at 14. It was just so bad. So I basically like put that out of my mind. So when he told me that, it made me think about all the pain I went through, and I think about where I am today, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could tell these
Mm.
kids, that they can make it too, because I made it through all the stuff I went through, maybe I can, help someone. So I do digital marketing. And it's funny because a little bit before that, I was asking God, literally like one day cleaning up, like, what do you want to do with me? And literally the next day, people were just coming into my life and like ministering to me and telling me things. And now I'm sitting in front of Les Brown, not even a year later, and we're talking about this, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I was really shy. I always do digital marketing and social media for other people, but I'm never in front of the camera or like speaking. And I also
Mm.
get in trouble for always got in trouble for speaking and talking too much. So I didn't think I was supposed to be a speaker, or and I definitely think I didn't want to share the things I'm sharing with you about my past.
Yes.
So long story short, I took that 10 days from Christmas Eve to the first of the year, since the suicide rate increases, to go live and just talk about my story, invite other people to talk about it.
Mm.
So I started talking about it, and I mean, globally, people were just crying out to me and saying like how much they needed this and these different things, and it freaked me out. It
Oh,
scared me so bad because I'm thinking, I just survived all that stuff. So
oh,
Suicide
yes.
Watch is the neighborhood watch. You know how the neighborhood,
Oh.
they have their community that looks, for the robbers and the criminals. And
Mm.
but
Ah.
before that, you think when you hear suicide watch, if someone already tried to commit suicide, then they're on a 72-hour hold of surveillance to watch and to make sure they don't do it. Well, I'm looking at suicide differently. I believe the
Mm.
suicide happens before the physical suicide. Suicide is a
Oh.
byproduct of your daily habits, of what you've been doing, what you've been consuming mentally, what your environment is, and then you can track it because 50% of suicides, they've never been diagnosed with mental health or mental illness. So that means that any
Oh.
one of us could be in a position where we get to a point where we can't handle it. So when I went for that 10 days, I didn't know who I was. I realized I didn't know who I was. That's why I was so afraid of it. I didn't realize
Mm.
I was a child of God. You know, I didn't realize that I was going to be okay, because if is with me, who can be against me? I just didn't know who I was. So
Wow.
I was
Great.
afraid that because I survived that, I was going to get back into that dark place. But it was a complete opposite. As I started sharing my story, people started sharing their story, and they were like motivating me and encouraging me. I
Ah.
mean, more than sometimes my own family or friends. It was the virtual family. And I said, I got to do something about this. So I realized some of the great philosophers like Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, they all talked about taking possession of your mind. One of my
Correct.
favorites, Florence Scovel Shinn, she talks about
Mm.
metamorphosis. And it's sad because people think, and kids are thinking, that suicide is a solution to their problems, but it's
Mm.
not. We're so busy looking and being conditioned to look outside of ourselves that we think that we have to die to go to heaven. And
Mm.
I'm here to tell you that, look at the smile, right? I'm the
Yes.
pretty ugly. People see a pretty girl and we see pretty things on social media, everybody else's life, but we don't pull the curtain back to see the trauma. If I've never told you I was on drugs for 10 years, on ecstasy for 10 years, you would never know.
Okay.
If I didn't tell
Mm.
you I was homeless, but we have to start sharing these things so everybody can see we're all much more similar than different. And I had this download today for this particular live. I heard God telling me that, we have all these national holidays, right? And now Christmas, every month is a holiday where we have to spend money. And the reason why people don't believe in God a lot of times, or lose hope, because they don't realize they're wrapped in God. But
Correct.
that's it. Every time we
Correct.
hurt ourselves, we heal. That's God.
Mm.
Every time we breathe,
Yes.
that's God. Being able to see, I mean, like breaking it down to this beautiful design, not looking, your mom can't give you this, your dad can't give you this.
Of course. Of
Only
course.
God within,
Yes.
not outside, not the God. Because if you kill yourself, if you know a little bit about God, it says we serve a living God, right? But if you're
Mm.
not living, you cut off the lifeline. And I believe people have to get back to, just, if you don't feel love, you have to take it upon yourself to find out the type of love you want and start demonstrating and loving yourself first, and researching what love is if you didn't see it, surrounding yourself around loving things like nature. But we got to find our happy place. But if we don't take possession of our minds, that suicidal thought and spirit and energy can come in and trick you into believing something you're not, because you are so important. Just like me, if I would have
Yes.
committed
Yes.
suicide, because the drugs, that's suicide behavior. If I
Yes.
know drugs
Yes.
can kill me and I did it for 10
Yes.
years, that's pretty suicidal. And a
Yes.
lot of people think it's the gun, the pill, and the rope. But no, if you're drinking every day and you know it could cause liver cancer or you could die, it's a form of suicide. If you're having promiscuous sex and you know you can catch a sexual transmitted disease like HIV and spread it to other
Yes.
people, that's suicidal behavior. So I'm here today to just be raw and honest with everybody that it's okay not to be okay. It's
Hmm.
okay because now you're aware that this is not okay and I don't like the way I feel. So I encourage people to talk about it because you're going to want to talk about it on your deathbed when it's too late. You're going to want to talk
Hmm.
about it when you've tried to commit suicide. Now you're paralyzed or in a chair for the rest of your life because you made that mistake. The studies show that people that have jumped off of like the San Francisco Bridge in California
Hmm.
that attempted suicide, right before they jumped, they realized they didn't want it, they wanted to live. So I'm here
Correct.
to share whatever I need to share to save someone else, that little girl, that little scientist, that fashion designer, that big dreamer, that it's okay. I just want to encourage everybody, wherever you're at right now, God is so beautiful that He gave you an imagination
Hmm.
to create
Yes.
the life you want in your mind first. And if you can get in there and start protecting your mind and realize the outward is just whatever what's in your mind, you have to believe it. If you don't believe anything I'm saying, that's okay. But if you do, that's great. Whatever you believe in your mind to be true, you're right. But at any given time, God gave you the ability to change your mind. So that's what I have to get off my heart because
Yes.
somebody's listening and they don't know what to do. And the answer is go within and up. Clean up.
Hmm.
Delete the files you no longer want. Whatever doesn't make you happy, I don't want it anymore. And replace it with what you do want. And think about those things. Whatever you got to do to distract your mind, you got to do it. And you can do it right now at this very moment. You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to go anywhere. You can go just right within and just believe in yourself. Because I had a talk yesterday about the self-talk. What's our self-talk? That record playing in your mind. What station is it on? Is it on worry? Is it on bills? Is it on, what station is it on? And if you don't understand that your thoughts are just your thoughts can take over you and you become your thoughts and you don't realize that you have the power to take things out, put them in. But if people give up on you, why would you get in line with them to give up on you? Does
Hmm.
that make sense? If people stop loving you, why would you get in line to join them? Why not get mad and get upset and it's like
Hmm.
I'm worth it. Like God
Yes.
already loved me way before I even met you.
Yes.
So I just want to encourage people, it's time to get a new attitude. It's time to put our shoulders back and understand that we are children of God, naked, no clothes, no cars, no nothing. Anytime we're alive, we can go anywhere and we can create the world and the life we want. But we have to create it here first. So if this mind, that engine is not working well, if you're feeding it trash, if you're not listening to good things in the morning, if you don't have habits that are created early in the morning, things to interrupt those negative thoughts, where are we going to go if everybody's doing the same thing? So thank you for letting me get that off my heart. I really just that was for someone, so I hope that helped.
No, no, we really appreciate it, and of course, sharing the story has a great power. This is one we totally agree on this. If we everyone has its own story and his own success and failures, if they are going to share it, so and if you are true and if you have a true story, so that has the very great power. If it will come out from your heart, and it definitely go in the heart of the others. And I just want to share with you, Melody, that of course, in our religion, in Islam also, in Islam it's prohibited to do the suicide. because this life is belong to Allah. Allah has given this life. He has only, God has the ownership of this life. So only He has the right to take it back. We are nothing to do the suicide and make it finish from our side. So that is very powerful words, and we really appreciate your story. Melody, one more question, because many people, send me many questions and it's in different languages, but I try to summarize it for you. So the many people said that they watch your video and you always say the pretty ugly. So because we always heard pretty in a different way and ugly in a different way, and of course you are pretty, but why you always
Uh-huh.
said the pretty ugly? What is the concept behind it?
Thank you. That's a great question. I love that question too. Because you'll never ever think, the pretty girl or the happiest person is going through so much pain or went through so much
Mm,
pain. We judge a book by its cover, right? But until you talk to me
yes.
and you get to know me and you pull the curtain back to know I don't walk around and see this every day. I don't. I walk out and I think people see my heart. I think people see how loyal I am and how driven I am and how I want the best for everybody. And I just want to, just make them feel like they matter, just be humanly. But they don't see that. They see this. And I have had to adapt to this. I've had to learn that, oh,
Yes.
I'm pretty and I have to act a certain way. So I've had to deal with God and say, God is telling me, use your pretty to draw people in because they're going to listen. And then use your talkativeness to really say something. So every time I come on, I pray and ask God to use me as a vessel and speak through me because I'm going through my own battles and journey all the time. So when I say the ugliest, sometimes we feel very ugly on the inside too, but we just look so good. Don't Your kids could look so happy, but don't
Mm,
know how to communicate their emotions, their life,
mm,
and we repeat these things. So I want to be beautiful on the outside and beautiful on the inside. So I thought it was
inside.
just really, really clever to use that analogy, the pretty ugly.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. This is a very good point. Many times we see that people have two faces. They are very good in front of you. They are smiling and they are behaving very good.
Yes.
But once you are not there, they are trying to cut you from the job, from the business, backbiting, or many things. That is very, very, very good point. The next question, Melody, I received from some lady, and she's saying, um, like if somebody comes to you and he just share with you that he's going to do a suicide and he's thinking about suicide because of many anything he has in his life. So what should we do, and what will be your step in that situation? How you will guide him or guide her? What you will do in that situation?
I would definitely, the first thing I would say is prayer is everything. Prayer.
Mm,
Sometimes I'm learning when you say, oh, I'm going to pray for you, people can kind of get offended, like, oh, you're like giving them this pity party. I broke my heel recently. I've never had an injury. I played basketball, I never had an injury. And when people say, oh, I'm so sorry, poor you, it because I know the power of words, it made me uncomfortable because I don't want them to pour me. I want them to pray for me. I want them to see me well. It's like I wish I could change the
mm,
words and that I know what they mean, but the words. So the first thing I would say is tell that person that it's okay to not be okay. And thank you for sharing it with them. Like really look at them and say, thank you for sharing it with me. And I have people all ages from 13 years old, white, black, me, people reaching out to me saying that they either tried to commit suicide or they are thinking about it. And I always pray really fast in my mind, like, God, help me, give me the words to use, come through me. I don't know what to do. This is your child. And I'm learning that too, that this is not, I can't fix this person. I can't do anything, you know? So what I say is pray for them in your mind and ask God to give you the words. That's the first thing. We got to just come with it because we don't have to do it alone. And that's when you are become empowered, when you
mm.
ask for the assistance that's already with you. So now you just listen to the words that come out. And usually I do my best not to make it about them trying to commit suicide. I don't talk about, oh, how did you do it? what did you use? Or I don't even talk about that. Once they tell me, it takes so much courage for someone to tell you that. So you just sit there with them and you tell them, okay, I understand. So what is it that, is planning your mind? What are you hearing in your mind that makes you feel like you don't want to be here anymore? And really listen. And when they try to go around the topic, make sure you ask them, okay, because we're trying to figure out what's replaying in their mind. What's the thoughts that's replaying in their mind over and over and over? You got to get to that. Once you find out what they're thinking about over and over, then you can find out where the seed came from. Okay, so what have you been doing lately? Why? What's causing you to get to this point? And it may be just maybe someone hurt them, a boyfriend, or maybe this. And if you start to see that they just need someone to talk to and to, help them understand that how they can work through it. And then now they can see a solution. But if they don't see a way out, and sometimes our internal problems aren't just our problems. It's something maybe that our mom did or our father did, and they said you couldn't do it because they couldn't do it. So now we took that seed, but that dream, that life you can have because God put it in your mind is burning. But they said you couldn't do it because they couldn't do it. So now you rather not be here than disappoint your parents or let this person down. And we have to have the conversation. And the other thing too is when we disclose, meaning if we share our story with someone, how I've been in that place before too. Sometimes we're so ashamed to say if we got all this money or we got all these titles and status, like we can't tell that person, oh, I thought about suicide too, or I was that depressed. You may just be helping yourself. It's therapeutic. So you tell them, I was there before. And once you start to become human without the ego, they open up and now they feel that they can trust you. And you let them know, hey, I'm never going to tell anybody. I'm here for you, but I do also think you should get some help, like someone you can talk to. Do you have anybody you can talk to? I'm not a mental health, professional, but here's a number. And then follow back up with that person and check on them. But keep them talking. And then at the end of the conversation, you let them know, listen, and you laugh and you joke with them. You make it light and say, I know, why I know you want to live? Because you told me this. So obviously you want to live. So, you kind of let them know how silly they sound,
Yes.
So I hope that helped a little bit.
So Melody, tell me one thing. Is it possible to predict the suicide?
I believe so. I really believe so. A lot of studies shows like when someone kind of stops caring about their hygiene, when they're sleeping all the time, they don't have like a lot of energy. Usually, if I was just going through a depression not too long ago, and I realized it because I was like sleeping in the middle of the day when I know I had a lot of work to do. But I thought I was really tired, but no, it was creeping up on me. So sleeping a lot, the words that we speak. Remember, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So the I ams, this is so important. I am means God. Anybody out there, Google it. I am means God. So when you say I am broke, I am tired, I am ugly, I am depressed. Even if you're depressed, you need to lie to yourself and say, I am happy. I am happy. Because you want the gods of happy, not the gods of depression. So it is very important that people look for the signs, and especially with social media. If you watch this, I haven't quite delved into it because I like to really dissect, but it's a new documentary called Social Media Dilemma. And it's about all the programming that social media is doing. So when people don't have anyone to speak to or talk to, they go to Twitter or they go to Facebook. And now you're going into a place to compare yourself to everybody else's life. So again, if we don't take possession of our mind, we can't detect it in ourselves, and we're not going to be able to detect it in our children, our family members, or anything. So what I would say is, if asking people really how they're doing and having a real conversation with them, not just, hey, how you doing? Hi. And then they're off to their room on their phone. And now the phone is raising your kids. It's the modern day pacifier. I want to repeat that again. The cell phone, kids 10 and up in the US, the leading cause of death right now is suicide, ages 10 and up. And every time you see parents, the kids 2 or 3 years old, they have the iPad. Parents, I'm not trying to offend you, but this may be you. I don't know. But the iPad, the phone is the modern day pacifier, and it's not okay because that computer has so much information, and they're raising your children, and you don't even know your children. You don't know what they're looking at. You don't know what they have access to. And even us, we're consuming so much information. It's like, where's the boundaries? You know, we see so much death, we see so much pain. Who cares? It's like, who cares? Everything's being desensitized. So we got to start implementing things to protect our mind. We protect our mind. Remember Suicide Watch? Take possession of your mind. You're watching what's coming in and out of your mind. Actually, you're not just watching, you're deleting, you're adding. This is your garden. This is your engine, your AMG Mercedes Benz, your Rolls Royce Coupe, you know, whatever dream you have to clean it, and you have to prune, and you have to work. So when people come into your world and they start speaking these, oh, I'm stupid, or you're stupid, or you say, hey, you know, I got to protect my energy. You are not going to let that enter because you worked so hard to cleanse and renew your mind. Now you can detect it in them because it's so far apart. You're doing your work. So now you're like, I don't want that habit. I don't want to speak that way, and don't speak that way to me. It's no offense. But now you can say, oh yeah, that speech, that language you speak about yourself, it's a form of suicide because they're manifesting it. Every single word that okay, how can I say this? If every word that came out of your mouth was a prayer, how would you speak?
Correct.
How would you speak? How would you speak? I want to ask you that. How would you speak if every word was a prayer that came out of your mouth? How would you speak every day?
I will start with the name of Allah. I will start with the name of the admiration of God, admiration of God. That is the biggest thing for us to start anything.
Yeah, it's important. And whatever that may be for anybody, you have to stick to something, and you have to create your world and understand what you create here is going to project outwardly and manifest.
Yes.
I hope that answered. I have some long answers, but it's just, people just have these cliche quotes, and they say these words, and they say it so casually, but no one's breaking it down and talking to people and making them understand how powerful their words are.
Yes, 100%. So, Melody, can you give us some your idea about it? That why men are doing more suicide than the women?
You know, it's interesting you say that. Men are, and this is globally, over 40% more, you know, a lot of men are committing suicide because they have access usually to guns. A lot of men own guns rather than women. Actually, a lot of women attempt suicide more, but the men actually succeed because they have access to guns or already own a gun. That's just the way the statistics are showing it. I also believe, now this is data from WHO, you know, but like I
Yes.
said, I'm talking about suicide a little differently. In my opinion, especially like in America, it's very interesting that white males actually has doubled. 45 and younger has doubled in suicide. Over 69% of them are committing suicide, and that's just period, even in 17 and up. So there's a huge disparity, there's a huge problem with that. And just seeing it to be a man in any continent, country in the world, to be a man, we're beings first, we're God's children first, and then we get these colors, right? And then we get these roles and these traditions and the cultures, and then we get the religion, and we forget how to be a being. So I believe,
Correct.
in my opinion, whether you're a male or female, again, if you don't know who you are and your job becomes your title, especially white males in America, they're leading everything. So you wouldn't think that would be the leading cause of death. I believe the bar is so ridiculous for the male in general. So you have this status quo of what a white male should be, and they just
mm,
become capitalists and money and providers, and they don't develop that emotional connection of other things that they're worthy of. So sometimes if they lose all their finances, they don't want to be here anymore because they don't want to deal with the embarrassment, because they're defined by money, they're defined by what they can do, and they have a lot of friends that rely on them too. So it stops being about the God within. It stops being about the being. I think
mm.
that's the number one issue, in my opinion.
Correct. Melody, as you said, that digital dementia is playing one of the major role for this suicides. So, what do you think? Like, if you are talking about mobile phone, laptop, or any other thing, so it's like a tool, and we can use this tool in a good way also, or in a bad way also. So, as you said that, but there is no boundaries, there is no limits. We cannot like stop the kids, or we cannot watch the kids every time what they are doing, what they are not doing. Sometimes we see like in the recent, you can see the many games and many things comes like this, that they promote something like suicide, and these children try to prove something, that we
Yeah.
we are something and we are going to prove it, and they do the suicide. So what do you think about this type of games and movies, and why we are not going to stop this type of things which are promoting the suicide?
Wow, that's a great question, and it ties into what I just talked about, the modern day pacifier. Think about it. Who said this? Dr. Miles Monroe. He's a great Bohemian teacher. He's no longer with us anymore, but you can watch him on YouTube. And he talked about he always had books in his house, right?
Mm,
So he said he always had books in his house, really never really watched a lot of TV, and he was always reading. His wife was an avid reader, and he had children. So what the
mm.
children saw was them reading all the time. You understand? So it's
Oh,
what you're
wonderful.
doing in your own household. So if you are not doing the work as the parent and working on yourself, I was saying this on my podcast last night, that your kids know when you're depressed. Your kids know when mommy and daddy are fighting, even though you try to hide it or act like they don't know. They're actually, their senses are heightened even more to feel,
Ah,
because they're not worried about bills and all the things we're worried about. So while we're thinking we're hiding it, we're not doing our work. So then we give the kids the cell phone and the iPad. And then when it's not the iPad, it's the food or the gifts, or letting them go where they want to go or do what they want to do. Because my mom did it when she wasn't doing her
ah,
part. She compensated with leniency and whatever. I'm so depressed. Just go ahead and get on your iPad. It's a pacifier.
ah,
So, and then you
correct.
wonder why you don't know your kid. You want to know what wonder why you don't know what's going on in their life, who they're hanging out with. Now all of a sudden they're pregnant, or all of a sudden now you don't know them because you don't even know yourself. You're not doing the work, and you think you need to put them in therapy now. What about you
Mm,
doing the work? So a lot of parents, maybe they just pay. The kids just want the love and the connection and the time. Spend time with me.
correct.
But nowadays with social media, the parents are on the phone like this too. So everybody's
Yes,
like this, and
100%.
nobody's like this.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. You you explain in a wonderful way. So one more question. Somebody asked that is suicide is related to impulsiveness. This question comes to me from you can say from UK.
This is a great question. I used to be very, very impulsive, very,
Ah,
and I still battle with that now. Actually, it's not as bad as it used to be, because now I have taken possession of my mind. So sometimes when you're taking possession of your mind, it's like driving a car, right? And this is the vision I'm getting right now. And then you know how you see something and they go, whoa, whoa, and you try to like steer it back. Sometimes that
correct.
happens. You're smooth sailing, you're cruising, and then you hit a bump and now you got a flat tire and you're like, whoa, trying to, and you're like, oh God, I got to slow down. I can't,
Yes.
I have to keep a good spare, and I have to remember that I used to do this all the time. So I believe that impulsiveness, that anxiety, that energy, that anxiousness sometimes if you don't know how to manage your mind, so let's say
Hmm.
right now I'm feeling anxious, and oh, this is a perfect example. There's a guy I like, and he hasn't called me, or he hasn't texted me or something like that, and you're like, I'm waiting for this call. Now you're like anxious, like, oh, whatever. And then now the thoughts are coming in, well, maybe he doesn't like me, or maybe she doesn't like me, or whatever, whatever. And then now you want to text them. That's like the most
Hmm.
common thing, right? And
Correct.
then the point is, are you observing all this happening in your mind? That's what we got to
Hmm.
get to. So if you're not observing that you're going through this cycle, and you don't have something to interrupt that thought, you know what? I'm gonna go take a run. I'm gonna have a run, because when I get like this, I know I make bad decisions. Or if
Hmm.
I'm
Correct.
drinking alcohol, or I'm doing this and this feeling arise, I know I need to, do this. What systems do you have in place, so when you're triggered, you say don't fall into that impulsiveness, because it's going to eventually wear at you and wear at you till you do it. And then when you do it, it's going to be gratifying in that moment, but you're going to be right back where you started. So it's almost better to work through it and fight through it like you're in the boxing ring with yourself. And when you just
Hmm.
knock them down, every day you're not going to win, but that's okay.
Correct.
But you're
Hmm.
you're in the ring. The fight's not over,
Yes,
So yes,
fight is not over.
impulsiveness is a huge, huge, huge factor.
Okay, Melody, thanks for sharing this very good knowledge and experience. Melody, one more question. Like, it's coming in my mind because in most of the colleges and universities, actually, I used to went there for for teaching and something. So I heard from the students mostly that in that age of like you can say teenagers, or maybe you can say 20 25 age, between this. So mostly if they are not married but they have relationship, okay, and so the point they feel that some like maybe a girl or maybe a boy is leaving to each other. So mostly at that time they are saying this type of things, that if you will not stay with me and if you will not be with me, so I will do suicide and I will going to die or something like this. So in that stage, who is responsible for to guide them? And because everyone cannot go to the consultant for consultancy on to the counselor, and nobody will everybody will not is not going for these things. So who should come in front and play the role at that time to guide them and to save them from this suicide?
Wow, that's a very that's interesting, because when I tell you, when I was younger and I was on drugs, I was in a very toxic relationship um with someone much older than me, and I was so in love with him, but I didn't think I now that I'm older, I realized obviously I was on drugs, right? So it was a chemical thing going on in my mind. I was codependent because he was better than home. So he was like a more than just a boyfriend. He was like a family member, a father, a boyfriend. He played so many roles, and that I wasn't getting at home. So I felt like I needed him so bad, and he understood that, and he would manipulate, and he would, like, whenever I try to speak up or like say something, like, I don't like what you're doing, or he would cheat on me all the time, and I'm like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And then somehow he manipulated me to stay with them, and then I was depressed. And then, but then he would do things like when I wanted to, say, no, I don't want to do this. He's like, I'm gone, I'm done. Because he knew that if he got packed all this stuff right then and there, I would freak out and say, no, don't leave, and cry. And I would never talk about what's hurting me and what the problem is. So it became like our normal, where he just knew how
Hmm.
to get me to stay. So that's a form of, to me, spiritual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal, mental. I mean, it even got physical at times, because, but I didn't
Okay.
care, because I didn't want to let him go. So I would say that in that time, when people are in those toxic relationships and they're codependent that way, they don't tell you everything that's really going on. I never told
Hmm.
my mom and
Hmm.
family. This is the first time I'm talking about this stuff now on the last year and a half, about the things I went through, because I wanted to protect him. I wanted to, make him look good. Like, I was so happy and I loved him so much. Anything that was the only thing I felt of love, because I never felt or saw love. So I thought he stuck around. any love, any type of form of love is better than no love. And that is the saddest thing when we're searching again outside of ourselves. So I would say if it's a girl, guy, whoever is, someone's telling you that they are will commit suicide if you don't stay with them, you need to protect them and protect yourself by telling someone that you respect, and you trust, to
Hmm.
maybe figure out how to get him help,
Hmm.
because before the suicide becomes a suicide, like what happens to suicide? So mentally you're
Hmm.
being broken down, spiritually, mentally, now you're afraid, and then now this person, it's just a matter of time before it happens, or he kills himself, or kill both of you, so don't wait. What they say, if someone tells you who they are the first time, believe them. Tell someone, get help, because sometimes you're not thinking the right way. Sometimes you could be getting manipulated. If you're hurt people. So if two hurt people are together, it's trauma bonds. You're bonding together and you think you're protecting them, and you're not protecting them, you're not protecting yourself. And this person doesn't really want to live. He's just sick and broken inside, or just could be manipulating. I don't know, but you got to tell somebody.
Like as you said, like Mr. Les Brown said, if you stay with negative, cynical people, you will become negative and cynical. And once I heard that he said, if you are with nine negative people, soon you will become the tenth one. So this is very important to be away from the negative and
Absolutely.
cynical people. So, Melody,
Yeah.
mostly when you are your age is not maybe between 12 or 10 or something like this, and people are abusing you
Hmm.
too much, especially your parents, your elder brothers, sisters, like your siblings, and the people near to you, and
Hmm.
started to abuse you, maybe because of
Hmm.
your schooling, you are not getting the good marks, and whatever the things. So in that age, if you are
Yeah.
abusing a child and he is going to suicide, so I believe this abuse has a great power to support this suicide. What do you think about it?
Wow, that's again, that's another thing I've been through. I saw my stepdad started, hitting my mom when I was 7 years old, and my brother was about 10, and little skinny little kid, and my stepdad had to be about 45, 50 years old, and he was fighting my stepdad
Oh.
off my mom. And the first time it happened, he hit my mom, and then I screamed, and I was 7 literally. And then when I screamed, he went to hit me, but my brother jumped in front, so I never got hit. But I used to be afraid to go to sleep at night. I used to be really scared, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but there was at one point that I was like a bully. I mean, this is, people would never even think this about me, but I didn't know how to communicate at home. It was abuse, and they communicated through anger and fighting. And then my brother, he was already out the house because he was fighting my stepdad at home. So he was a little guy, so he always got picked on, and then he had to learn how to fight. So all I knew was, so I would get picked on. So
Mm.
you follow a bully home, you'll find out why they're being bullied, because their dad is
Yes.
beating them, or their mom is
Mm.
beating them. This kid's not just a bully, right? So I would tell anybody, number one, you got to pray. I'm going to go back to prayer. That's my weapon. That is my
Correct.
weapon. Pray for the bully, pray for yourself, pray, pray, pray. Just when this is happening, in the midst of it, start praying. Forgive them.
Mm.
God, come into their life, whatever's happening at home, because there's something happening at home, and ask for strength, and figure out how to talk to somebody, because keeping it a secret and protecting a bully is not the answer. Because if someone would have found out that all that stuff was happening at home, maybe I would have got therapy years ago. I'm just now in therapy. If someone would have told on me, how maybe they would have went into my home, and people don't usually want that, because they don't want their kids to get taken away and things like that. But it's either, sometimes I just knew in my heart my stepdad was going to kill us. It was
Mm.
no doubt in my mind. It was no doubt in my mind. It was so scary that I thought one day I would have to kill him. It was like a monster that I would save the world. Like that's all I kept thinking. Like I don't want to do it, but I was scared to come home from school because I think that the paramedics would be there. And one day it was, I thought, okay, if I just live to 23, I'll be happy. I mean, that was going on. So we live in this terror and this fear, and it's so sad because our parents will teach us to keep secrets. It's private
Hmm.
between the family until everyone's dead in the house. So you got to talk to somebody. You got to say something. I'm going to go keep saying back to that. We got to keep talking about it.
Here, I must want to say you, Melody, you are not pretty ugly. You are only pretty. So I believe you don't need to use anymore this ugly. You are only pretty by inside also and
Oh,
by
thank you.
outside also. And just
Thank
I'm
you.
taking your too much time because I have many questions, but I already tried to summarize it. So the last question which I would like to ask you, I will try to make it like, look, it's a two questions, but I will try to combine it. Sometimes we see
Okay.
that big stars like actors and actresses. Once you see on the window, so they have a big cars, too much money and fame and everything they have, and what we wish to have, they have everything. So this is something, maybe the face what we are seeing, and they are going to do the
Right.
suicide. They are doing suicide. So is there any mental health problem, mental illness is involved in this type of cases, or something else?
Again, it's gonna go back to not knowing who you are. If you think about it, all the greats that we know about, they have a story. Think about Les Brown. He has a
Hmm.
story. You know,
Yes.
um, LeBron James, he didn't have the greatest upbringing. He has a story. Everybody has a story. The question is, sometimes we don't discover ourselves till later. Everybody is like not always, we don't believe in ourselves, and we don't believe in the power invested in us. And I believe our world um has made it about the pastor or the rabbi and not made it about the God within. In America, they're taking the gods out of school, out of the church. Now with the pandemic, the churches are closed. It's like that Allah, God, is like not on the forefront. Like I'm literally getting chills right now. Like whenever I get that Holy Spirit, just like the truth, it's just, when are we talking about the God within? So God is saying the sun is in the sky, the ocean is staying still, and the birds are flying. That's real. Okay. The TV, the car, the this, that has nothing to do with me. I can get you all that 5 times over. But inside, nobody gets
Inside.
out. We all have to do our work. We all have to connect with our creator. So when we start going outside of ourselves and taking the drugs, right? And taking the party life, enjoying friends, needing to be around everybody rather than be at home. People believe alone is like a sad, bad thing, but we need a long time to be with our creator, to hear our thoughts. How are we going to mind manage, take possession of our mind, if we're so busy being the mom, the wife, the job, the this? What time are you investing in find out who you are? So it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity, it doesn't matter if
Hmm.
whatever. Sometimes that could be worse, because now the
Hmm.
celebrity is a walking bank, and they're attached to other people's lives, and they're dependent on them for this money. They're a money machine versus a person, a child of God, a being. We're not looking at the being. We're the human being. We're the spiritual being. We got all these titles before the being, but we don't even know how to just breathe. If we don't breathe for what, a minute or two, we can die. How come we don't go to school? As soon as we go to school, out when it's 5 or 6 years old, we take breathing classes, because when we breathe, we're putting
Okay.
energy in our body to heal. But we're going to school to learn how to read. We're learning how to be better civilized human beings and follow the rules and regulations. It's not about the being and survival. It's about deprogramming the being from their God DNA.
Correct.
Because if you had a
Hmm.
whole bunch of gods walking around knowing they're gods, how could you control them? How can you enslave a people? You see the wars that are going around all around the world. How can you enslave beings, God's children? You can't enslave them. There's always going to be conflict. It's not because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't go. It's like it doesn't intertwine. We're beings. If he said, "I made you in the
Hmm.
likeness of me," you're my child, but because we don't have this image, we're not his children. I mean, it's never going to work. So it doesn't matter. Everybody, celebrity, the sun is shining on us. It rains on rich people too. When you're in the hospital and you get cancer, not you, but someone gets cancer or gets sick or whatever, where's their
Hmm.
money now? You know, where their
Melody, can you hear me? Yes, now I can
yeah,
hear you. Please.
yeah. I'm
Okay.
just saying, like, when those things happen, where are their riches and fame then? It can't help them. Now they're on their deathbed or in the hospital praying to God
Correct.
all of a sudden, right? Now they want to
Yes.
do the work, and
100%.
now who am I,
Hmm.
God? You know, now all of a sudden you fast forward and want to do the work when
Yes.
God's been there the whole time, right inside of you, saying, I'm here. Ask me what
100%.
I intended for you.
Yes, as Melody said, that the spirituality is very important. Look, whatever the religion you have, either you are Christian, you are Muslim, or whatever your religion. What I believe, if you are a practicing person, if you are a Muslim and you are not practicing your Islam, if you are a Christian and you are not practicing your Christianity, so it will become a problem for you. But if you are a practicing person, so every religion guide us. Every religion is giving a good directions. It never give you a wrong direction. So if we are a practicing person, so we will be connected with our God, whoever is your God. Your spirit will be connected with your religion also, and with the God also, and you will be thankful for everything whatever you have. If you are thankful for that, so you will never feel sad and never feel bad. So Melody, it was, I was just sharing some of my thoughts. Now we are going to have your last message, which you wants to give to every age and every person in the world. And please, once you finish your message, so try to share your all your connectivity like Twitter or Instagram, because if people would like to connect with you, so they can connect with you on that, all of things which you will share with us. So please, Melody.
Yes, yes, yes. Again, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. I appreciate, your time and your audience. Everybody, thank you for your questions. Thank you for tuning in and just taking your time out. You could be doing anything else, but you're listening to this. So I appreciate you. And I always tell my loved ones that I love them. If you haven't heard that in a long time, I love you so much. I'm doing this because I love you. I don't have to know you to tell you that. Like I was saying, we all have all these national holidays. Every day is a love day. Unconditional love. It's every day, a day of love. Tell someone you love them, show some kind of love. It's a daily habit, number one, but you got to show love to yourself too. You have to be gentle with yourself. And I'm learning that you have to, yeah, be gentle with yourself. Like, it's okay. And something I want to leave everyone with, I speak about God a lot because I told God, if he saved me, if he gave me a chance, I would tell the good news. I would tell them that they can make it too. And I grew up in church, and it was like Chinese to me. I was wondering why I wasn't shouting and hopping and connecting, but when I got alone. So when someone asks the young kids out there, oh, what's your faith? The first thing they say, oh, I'm Christian, or I'm Muslim, or I'm Baptist. No, 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 no. What is your faith? Meaning, when your back is against the wall, are you going to stand tall because you know there's a higher power behind you? When you say practicing knowing that the relationship and the power in you and the belief that something greater than you has you, that is faith to me.
Hmm. Correct.
Knowing that when you get that hunch that I can go after that dream and I can do it. And even though you're scared, and even though you don't have the money or the resources and nobody's supporting you and believe it, but it's in you and you feel it, the faith that God, the power invested in you, is going to meet you on the other side. Walk by faith, not by sight. Faith to me is not religion. Faith is every time it gets hard, closing your eyes and knowing God is on the other side and he got you, because he would never bring it to you. Walking in the fire when you know that everything you see around you is telling you don't do it, but you have the faith that God is this earth, the sun, I mean, a powerful being. That is where I'm at with everything. So no matter how old you are, there's something in your mind that keeps telling you can do it. You need to keep on working on turning that volume up and turning that other volume down and eliminate it, saying you can't. That's the faith. This is faith. It's not, the religion is a guide. No matter where you are, it's just a guide to help you find your faith in something bigger than you. And that's what I want to leave with them, with everyone today. And you can find
Wonderful,
me on
wonderful.
Instagram at Suicide Watch Global. I go on every single Wednesday at 6:30 Pacific. That's US time, 6:30 every Wednesday for Happy Hope Wednesday. Again, we have to hope for the things that are unseen, right? They are unseen because we haven't created them yet.
Yes, Melody, you are a wonderful lady. Then the best thing behind
Thank
it
you.
is because you have a great heart, and you have a pure heart, and you have a pure spirit, and we are very thankful to you that you have
Thank you.
given your precious time to us
Thank
and
you.
shared that knowledge and your experience, your story, and really, of course, for audience also, and personally for me also, that I inspired a lot, and really, and next time just say you are only pretty. And we are going to share this live session with
All right, I'll work on that.
with many groups and platforms also. And we hopeful that you will give us the time again whenever you have time and whenever you
Okay.
feel okay. So we will be happy to have you again. So
Okay.
now I just would like to say something in Urdu language also for some people. One Mr.
Okay.
अब्दुल्ला काशिफ, आपका मैसेज आया, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। वालेकुम अस्सलाम। अगर आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप यहाँ कर सकते हैं, तो मैं मेलोडी से वो क्वेश्चन कर लूंगा, नहीं तो आप बाद में भी लिख दीजिएगा, फेसबुक पे मैं इसको शेयर भी करूंगा, तो आप जो है वो वहां पे ये क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं। इस वक्त जो मेलोडी ने सारी बातें करी, मैं उसको 1 मिनट के अंदर समराइज करूंगा। मेलोडी का सबसे बड़ा मेन मकसद यही था कि आप जो है वो अगर अपने मजहब पर चले, और खास तौर पे देखें हमारा मजहब तो इस्लाम है, और वो हमें ये बताता है कि जो है ये खुदकुशी करना वो हराम है, और जब कोई चीज हराम होती है तो हम तो उसके बारे में सोचते भी नहीं है। तो इसलिए हमारे लिए तो ये जो है समझ ले कि हमारा तो ये दरवाजा ही बंद हो जाता है कि हमें ऐसा कोई काम करना है। सो दैट्स ऑल मेलोडी, आई वाज जस्ट शेयरिंग विद ऑल ऑफ देम दैट
Okay.
द समरी पॉइंट, that what we have to do it. And I, of course, I will send them the comments and the sharing messages, all of that, if they would like to know in other language. So that's all melody for today. And again, thank you so
All
much,
right.
and
Thank you again.
hopefully we will be connected with you again. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you.
absolutely. I would love to. Thank you. Take care. All right.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.